Picture this, two guys trapped in the South Charleston Public Library. One guy loves movies, the other, well, he'd rather be watching reality TV. Can they survive each other's films? Find out on Real Opposites, a library podcast about movies, hosted by Josh and Aaron from the South Charleston Public Library.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Real Opposites. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
And we're back to discuss the movies that we chose last podcast, Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, and Blowout.
Yep. So I guess we're going to head into Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, or Dead, Mommy, Dearest, and Mommy's Dearest, Dead.
So
whatever.
Basically what he's letting us know is it's probably never going to be right when he talks about it.
Yeah.
But yes, we will discuss Mommy, Dead,
you
and
managed to
Dearest.
pick two movies back to back, which are shockingly evil and vile and wicked and blah, blah, blah. You know. So, anyway.
Well, this one...
Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
Mommy, Dead, and Dearest.
There, I got it.
It is a documentary about Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother, Dee Dee. And I chose it because I like documentaries. I like true crime type things. And also, this one is just so hard to believe what they got away with.
Yeah.
So I definitely just found it very interesting.
Yeah, I was like, when it started, I was pretty hooked in like the first 10 minutes. Like,
Yep.
It's just such a outlandish story.
Right.
Like how she managed to convince, doctors and everyone that Gypsy had all these ailments and cancer and was paralyzed. And the one that got me was the feeding tube.
Right. Yeah. She even was able to get a feeding tube installed into her daughter who wasn't sick.
And it's just, that stuff's heartbreaking. And so, I know it's like, so it starts and I know it's going to be like a murder documentary,
Right.
And that I think they let on pretty early that, Gypsy and her boyfriend murdered Dee Dee, her mom. And I like how it plays with you a little bit because you're like, oh, well, she murdered her mom.
Right.
But then once you get the whole story, you really get her perspective and it's not black and white.
That's what the cop says at the end. He's like, 10 years is the best outcome we could hope for because she ends up getting 10 years for second-degree murder. She's like...
Yeah, and she's still like 33 or something.
Yeah, he's like, she'll still have a lot of her life left and she'll have an opportunity to re-enter society after... Because I think that she is in I don't think she's in a maximum security prison. I think she's in a minimum security, and then with a focus on rebuilding her mental health because she was
traumatized and abused. Her whole life. From 3 months, Dee Dee started acting like she was sick. And,
right.
And it's so, her whole life has just been hell.
And developmentally behind. And
I might get to talk.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, because she was second.
Sorry, we liked your movie.
I was totally kidding.
She made it to second grade, I think, is all the schooling, official schooling she had.
Yeah, and that's what made it very interesting because it's also one of those things you don't know how you feel about it. I think it's good that she, for herself, admitted guilt eventually.
Yeah.
And, she took the 10 years and she actually is thriving right now.
Is she?
Health and stuff like that because she's not sick.
She's still in prison?
She is. She had her parole hearing this past December and she will actually be released this December.
Oh, well, that's great.
So she is getting out.
Well, good for her.
She'll be 32. So, but it's one of those things that's just it's so hard to know how to feel about it because, she killed... Well,
she
technically didn't kill her. She planned it, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, she was very badly abused her whole life.
Yeah, and it's not just it was emotional, mental, it's every kind of abuse. It's the worst, and it's betrayal of the person that's supposed to protect and love her.
Exactly.
And it gives her a warped perspective on the world, just reality. Her she was just she was basically a shut-in too.
Right.
Just was not allowed to leave or have feelings that weren't controlled by her mom in some way
And that's what's also hard, her learning about real life outside of what her mom did and taught her has been taking place in jail. So I'm sure also coming back into the real world's going to be hard on her.
Yeah, it's going to be a big shift.
All she knows is trapped by Dee Dee and jail.
Yeah. So she's been in prison for 32 years in a lot of ways, whether with her mom or in prison.
Right.
I mean,
it's just, and her mom did it for fraud reasons, basically.
Yeah.
They had a house built for them.
Right.
It's like
I think that was
like a Habitat for Humanity.
Habitat.
Yeah.
She got disability because of, all that, and like extra
Make-A-Wish trips.
And Gypsy didn't know. Like, she did not know that it was fake until like shortly before she killed her mother. Because like she was being, she's like, your mom tells you this is your medicine for like leukemia, and shaves your head and tells you, oh, it's because it's all gonna fall out anyway. We need to keep it neat. Like, and you're a little kid, and that's all you've ever known.
Yeah.
Until there start to be like little cracks in the veneer, which I think started when she was like 17. She started kind of seeing her way out, or that it wasn't all real. It's sad.
I think she knew some stuff early on. Like, she knew she could walk. And things like that. But it also was a thing where she was sick because of the medicines.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, all the medications are making, they all
and all the surgeries.
each other, and the surgeries that you don't like. And oh god,
and it's so wild that
that pissed me off so
much. Yeah, and what Dee Dee would do is bounce around to different doctors and just provide history, not with medical documents.
The scene where Dee Dee's dad and his wife are talking to the lawyer, and they're going through all the hospital papers, like the medical records, and like I forget which doctor said that he thinks that this is Munchausen by proxy, and that she's faking it, like she's faking all these illnesses.
Yeah, he said that,
but he never went. I don't think he said he didn't go to CPS.
No, it was never turned in.
Yeah, so I mean,
right there.
And he said he regrets that. Which I mean, I don't know. You should have done it because they were such a public figure, I guess, in a way,
right?
To a certain degree that no one would believe him.
Yeah. And I think, they were at events for people with different diseases because she had every disease under the sun, supposedly. Yeah. And they were invited to be like spokespeople at different events, which was on the documentary, a couple of them. They met celebrities. They had a house built. They went on Make-A-Wish. They did all kinds of things. So they were known in that community as far as, sickness and events like that. But yeah, he mentions even that Dee Dee's a horrible historian in those notes, because like I said, she would go in and she would give the family history, and it would just change depending on what she wanted to say
or what the illness they were trying to get diagnosed with.
All of a sudden, that ran in their family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said all of her, this
thing was infuriating.
She used Katrina as like the backing of, all of her stuff was destroyed in Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
And I just can't imagine, because she effectively poisoned her for many years of her life. Like, some of those medicines are not safe to be on long term, those kind of things. The little girl's face, Gypsy's face, the way it's all puffy and round like that, and it still is because if you give children prednisone through a lot of their childhood, they develop fat deposits in their face that never really go away. And you get that like kind of moon face look. And that stuff just makes you feel bad.
Right.
Like, most people have a slight allergy to prednisone. It's a steroid, and it makes your face all poofy the whole time you're on it. You feel extra sick. You feel flushed and bad. And it's like, no wonder the little girl believed that she was sick.
Yeah.
For as long as she did, that stuff doesn't make you feel good.
Right. And that's what it was. She is being taken, like I said, she knew she could walk, but I'm sure there was something that Dee Dee told her, like, yeah, you can for now, or something like that.
Well, and people can walk, and not everyone in a wheelchair needs a wheelchair 100% of the time.
Well, she was supposedly paralyzed.
Yeah, I guess
from waist
true.
down.
Yeah.
Was one of the things that they eventually said. And it's just, with all the doctor trips and all the surgeries and then being fed all these medicines that make you sick because you're not supposed to be taking all of them and you have no reason to be taking them, I could see how it would be easy to believe, and that's the person taking care of you.
Yeah.
It would be so easy to believe that.
Yeah, she just kept her in a state of constantly sick and medications. And
right.
That's all she knew.
And Dee Dee had made her so scared to talk to her dad. She never mentioned it to her dad. And I know in the documentary she mentions, like, I wish I would have told my dad, and then he could have just came and got me and I could have lived with him.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, like you said, it's not black and white.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of people should have done something, like her dad, the doctor.
Well, they called, at some point they did call, one of the boys that she was talking to called CPS, not Nicholas Goodjohn. That was another boy. And reported abuse, and the mom just talked him out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because she also ran away to that guy's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then the mom showed up.
So you get why she would be like, because Nick was kind of her first
love.
Like, just like, I don't know, exposure to
also that
an individual outside of her mom.
Right.
But it seems like it was just her and her mom. And like, aside from like events she would go to, it would be like, first person to really talk to her.
Right.
And, that's all she knew. So you can understand why she would just kind of fall into that.
Yeah.
Like that fantasy that they come up with, like with their fairy tales and the Disney stuff. Like that's
right. And he also had issues.
Yeah,
of his own.
He's got some. Yeah.
And so the two of them together, just there wasn't a lot of.
It's not a healthy.
It was not. Yeah.
Even
it wasn't
close to a. Yeah.
And especially for like the one person that she was talking to outside of her mom. But
yeah,
I mean, they just came up with the idea to,
and I get it.
Yeah,
like, well, that's what I liked about the documentary is like, by the end, I'm like, I get it.
Right,
I get why you did that.
Well, she tried to get away.
Yeah,
she had tried to run away. She had tried to, escape, and no matter what, her mom was always there. Would always find her.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I liked. That it puts you in her shoes. It really. Right. I think there's some. I mean, nothing specific, but I think there's some ways where I almost wish the documentary was longer.
Yeah.
I almost wish it was like a couple episodes of like a series or something, because it's only like an hour and 25 minutes. Or it's pretty short.
Yeah, it is.
So I feel like there's stuff that they're leaving out that I would like to know. But I mean, the main focus is on Gypsy. I think by the end, it kind of once they get through like a lot of the procedural, like just timeline, what happened, it really gets into her state of mind and how she was abused, and and I think that's where the documentary really works for me. It's like it really becomes focused, and you really empathize with this little girl who went through a lot of terrible things that no one should have to go through.
Right. And this documentary, she does talk during it, which I really like, that you get to hear it straight from her. And they had said in the documentary, this was her first time doing an interview where she was telling the truth.
Yeah, she says that in like when she sits down when she's in prison for the documentary.
Oh yeah, it was her that said it.
Yeah, she said it, and part of me's like, I don't know, are you? But because if you say that, then it's like I'm suspicious.
Well,
but I mean, I believe it's the truth.
One of the doctors does say, and no surprise in the way that she was raised and stuff, that Gypsy does show signs of like antisocial personality disorder. So she does have some degree of sociopathy.
Well, I would think so.
But I mean, that's what happens when you're raised with, essentially a mom that is potentially more on the psychopathy side of like, she's a master manipulator. It's like you don't have any exposure to how real emotions feel, and you don't develop like empathy the way that you're supposed to, because you don't have anyone in your life modeling empathy.
Right.
So that there is a little bit of gray area there in terms of like, is she really sorry, or is she really, you don't.
Right.
Can she really know? Can she really feel those things? Yeah.
Imagine all that feels kind of alien to her.
Right. Now you do get to see a little more of how the person she's becoming when her dad and stepmom go to visit her.
Yeah.
And she's even showing off and proud. She shows off that her feeding tube spot is healing up, and she's talking about how good she's feeling. And I looked a couple things up online, and basically she thrived in jail. They even ask her on the documentary, is it better 10 years in jail or 10 years more with your mom? And she said jail.
Yeah. And she's got more freedom in jail.
Right. And that's what I say. You can understand, because she couldn't escape it. And the few times that people did try to do something about it, Dee Dee was good about talking her way out of it. Yeah. And all these people had believed it for so long. It would have taken so much for Gypsy to escape a different way.
Yeah. I think I would have liked more delving into Dee Dee. Like they
did a little bit.
They talk about it a little bit, but like I don't know, her mental state. Her mom seemed to be very similar to a certain degree, but just to do that to your own kid.
Yeah, which
I feel like there's got to be something else other than just trying to get money for
attention,
disability, and all that. Like,
right. Well, she had also done it before. She had tried to poison her mom or stepmom.
That's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was her stepmom because she also was taking care of, I forget if it was her mom or grandma, and that woman died.
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of feel like, I wonder if she did it.
Dee Dee was trying to poison her brother's wife. They were all living together.
Oh, okay.
It was like...
I remember she was trying to poison somebody.
Her nephew's stepmom.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
I thought the two talking on the documentary is her dad.
No.
That one's not her dad?
I think it's her nephew's. Oh. I was confused, but yes.
Yeah, because I thought it was her parents too.
But I think it's her brother is what I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think, doesn't she say that she tried to poison her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were living together.
Whoever that woman
was,
she tried to poison her.
Yeah.
And they even said they thought Gypsy should be free. Mm-hmm. Even though she killed her.
Or planned to,
So that kind of tells you how Dee Dee was, which they also talk about her first marriage and how like she turned dark all of a sudden and he left.
Like witchcraft and stuff.
That's all they blamed it on was witchcraft. But I mean, who knows what else she was into or what she called witchcraft. I mean, maybe her poisoning people was her version of witchcraft, but I don't know. But, it's just one of those things that it's so hard
to fathom just doing that.
Yeah, to fathom it. And then it's also hard to blame Gypsy Rose.
No, I don't. I mean, like if I put myself in her shoes and went through what she went through for however 20 years or whatever, however old she was,
I think the outcome would be the same.
Yeah. I mean, if that's your only way out,
right. And with the resources she had, which was none, I think that was her only way out. Like I said, she tried running away.
Yeah, I mean, if she hadn't convinced Nick to do it, they hadn't planned it, she'd probably still be there.
Yeah. Which I forgot to look up. I was going to see what Nick ended up with, but I'm sure he ended up with life.
He ended up with life.
Yeah.
Apparently, I did find it interesting that both the older couple that they were talking to, I still don't know who they are, they said that Dee Dee's mother was the same way that Dee Dee was.
Yeah.
And so, like, not in the Munchausens, but, like,
it's manipulative, controlling.
Yeah.
I mean, they say that Dee Dee was evil. They said her mother was evil, too. Yeah. And that's the one that she supposedly just let starve while under her care.
Obviously it runs in the family. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why a lot of people still don't know for sure if Gypsy's telling the complete truth.
Yeah.
Or if she's remorseful. But in the documentary, I mean, she says she needed out from under her mom, but she didn't want it to. She never wanted her dead.
Right.
No, I mean, she didn't want it to come to that, but
I think it just
that's your only option. And so be it.
Right.
I get it.
But I'm kind of excited to see what happens. I hope somebody follows up on when she gets out of jail, how she's reintroduced.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a book or reality show or something.
Which I would watch.
Shocked.
Reality.
Shocked.
But, I mean, it would be interesting to see how she re-enters society.
Hopefully she does well when she gets out and she, I don't know. I mean, imagine they're training her for some sort of... She's learned some skill or something. She can get a job. And
she could also capitalize on, I don't know.
I'm sure she'll be okay with a book deal.
I'm sure she would be fine with being an internet personality, too.
Yeah.
Like, people would respond really well to, like...
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure she'll get a podcast.
Yeah, she'll have a podcast.
She could have anything. I mean, honestly, people would listen to her story.
Yeah, they listen to her story and there are things about her personality that are absolutely fascinating. Like, she has a super infantilized voice because she was never really taught to, like, speak like an adult.
I also wonder if that's changed while she was in jail.
I don't know. And it's a very sad little story, but, like, I think people would respond well to, like, hearing things from her perspective.
Yeah, I think as far as money, she will be fine. I mean, she could easily do a book deal or a movie or whatever, sell her story to whoever.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about how she'll function. Hopefully jail was good to her and taught her things about life, which they did say when I looked it up. Once the person meets parole and they're going to, she has that year, she goes through some different trainings and stuff during that year to get ready to go back into society. Yeah. So that's good.
That's good. I mean, I hope she's rehabilitated and hope she has a prosperous life.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that'd be good for her. And
I hope she surrounds herself with good people.
Right.
That don't.
That's what I'm worried too. But
take advantage of her.
It did seem like her dad and stepmom, hopefully they're still on her side because they were very much on her side in the documentary.
They seemed really genuinely concerned and,
the dad seemed like he felt awful.
Right. But, and I mean, maybe the dad could have checked on her more or something, but Dee also manipulated that.
Yeah, I mean, she just kept her holed up in that house and
And he even said one of the times they did meet at a McDonald's, Gypsy was so scared of him. Yeah. So who knows what Dee was pumping into her about her dad. Ugh. So I don't know that he's super to blame. Like us.
Yeah, no.
There's tons of blame for him.
It sounds like he tried. People tried, but her hold on her was just.
Yeah, it was her hold on everybody.
Yeah.
It's just a completely sad situation, and I'm excited for her. I hope she does well afterwards, and I guess sometimes things happen, and it was the best thing to happen to her, honestly.
I'm a little concerned that she has been engaged twice while in prison.
She is married now,
and they're divorcing.
Are they? Mm-hmm. I just saw that they just got married.
Yeah, they got married in 2022.
They met online, I guess.
Oh, I didn't see anything about her
divorcing. They separated 4 months later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just saw the articles about her.
Well, prison does make it hard.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that. Yeah. That does make maintaining a marriage quite difficult.
Yeah.
But it's also that's a little concerning to me. And not that she doesn't deserve to find love and stuff, but the idea, I mean, I know there are women that do it with men who are murderers too. Mm-hmm. It's as behind as Gypsy is developmentally, it's a little concerning.
Yeah.
That and most of the men both of the men that she's been engaged to have been 5 to 10 years older than her. And it's
yeah.
Not that that's a big age gap. It's not when everyone's normal.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's developmentally probably still a teenager in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And now, unless, I don't know what she's been doing in jail.
I'm sure she's had
probably been able to take classes and stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she's had a lot of mental health,
I'd say
therapy but it's a lot to overcome, 20 years of
abuse. Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, maybe rushing to engagement and marriage is a lot, but reaching out and talking to people, I mean, she's never really being able to do that. So to have the freedom to talk to people and, I mean, I guess date, I don't know how, I mean, not go on dates, obviously, but, it's a whole new world to her.
Yeah.
And I doubt she has a grasp on taking it slow.
Yeah.
And once she latches onto somebody, I bet it's pretty quick to engagement or things like that. Or also on the other end, maybe the guys just like Nick have their own issues.
Right, yes.
And that's why they do rush into things or click and get along. But hopefully she figures it out and afterwards, she can find that person, because it does seem like that's something she wants in life.
Yeah, I mean, she should have that, but I hope it's
legit.
Yeah, genuine and with someone who really wants to take care of her and not use her. And because she deserves that. She deserves someone to be good to her.
Yeah.
She's been treated so terrible for her whole life.
Exactly. Absolutely horrible life.
I mean, even if it's not, I hope her dad's involved, and
I do too.
And which I think he would be. Can't see any reason why he wouldn't. He seems like it was really sweet, when he comes to visit her in prison.
Yeah. And I mean, at that time, unless things have come out since then, but he knew everything and he was still that supportive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully over the years, nothing's changed and he's just as supportive, because I think having that family support would be good too. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad I guess you liked the documentary though.
I did. Yeah, it was really good. I could have watched another hour, but I kind of wish it was a little longer.
Well, I'm sure we'll get more as she gets out, I bet.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be another like documentary or some sort of.
And I would like that to kind of go through like maybe her jail time.
Yeah.
And then how she's doing afterwards. More about her.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like some documentary crew that had done interviews with her. And there's footage there. But yeah, it was really good.
It was different than other movies I've picked, but
yeah, no, I mean
this is a documentary, but
I like documentaries. I like good documentaries, and this was a really good one. And
that's good because you'll probably get more eventually.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't say there was
Survivor isn't a documentary.
I wonder if there's a documentary about Survivor.
I'm sure there is, but we're not watching it. It's going to be a lonely podcast.
Just me talking to myself.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's fine. I do it all the time.
She'll just hit record, and then we'll both walk away.
That's when I pull in Travis.
You can talk about Survivor.
Maybe if I'm out sick or something, sometime you and
There you
Travis
go.
do a Survivor.
We'll just do a Survivor episode. Because I tell you what, this new season 45,
Jesus,
is wild.
I'll tell you what, the ad for this season was garbage.
Was it?
Came across like my Facebook, and I was like,
I don't think I watched the ad.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I don't know. It was like.
Well, I will tell you, as a Survivor fan, this season starter, the first episode, was wild. And I think people made some stupid decisions, but it's going to be a good season.
Was it season 44?
45.
Yeah, I think it's 45. I said 44, but it's 45.
I don't know. It had a really stupid song in the background.
Well, I mean, it's going on 22 years on air, so they've done something right.
Yeah.
Anyways, non-Survivor related. So you both did you like the movie?
I did like the movie.
Yeah. So you both liked it. That's
Very
good. Good. Well, I guess that kind of brings us to the end of
Dead Mommy's Dearest Diary of the Dead Mom.
Also known as Mommy, Dad, and Dearest. So we will take a break for some announcements from the library.
The next thing you have to pick has to be one word title.
One word.
Anyway, yeah, we're coming back.
Some announcements from the library, and then we'll be back to talk about Blowout.
Hey everybody, this is Kendall from Youth Services bringing you our March update. We will continue to have story time on both Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 10:30. On Tuesday, we have alphabets, where we learn about different letters of the alphabet and the sounds they make. And Thursdays, we have words and wiggles, which is all about music and movement. I will let you know, however, that March 13th through the 17th is Kanawha County Spring Break, and we will not have any programs or story times that week. We also have a couple of great movies coming up in our teen movie club, Real Readers. On March 10th at 3 o'clock, we're going to be showing The Labyrinth. And then on March 24th, again at 3 o'clock, we'll be showing The Princess Bride. Finally, we're going to close out this month with a career night on Tuesday the 28th at 6:30. We invite you to come and learn all about different careers from A to Z. And whether you want to be an astronaut or a zoologist, we also invite you to come dressed as what you'd like to be when you grow up. So that is it for us for March. We hope to see you one day soon. And I'm going to pass it along to Toby for the adult services update.
Hey guys, we have some exciting news in terms of our adult programs this month. On March 13th, Monday, March 13th, we have appointment slots for a one-on-one tailoring class where you can learn to sew buttons, hems, any kind of simple clothing alteration you would like to learn to do. Then March 24th through 25th, which we'll talk about a little later in the podcast this month as well, we will be performing live at HerdCon. South Charleston Public Library will have a table at HerdCon with lots of fun stuff to do. And then we will also be performing live at HerdCon on Friday at 2:30. Then Monday, March 27th, we have a meeting of our book club. And our book this month is Nocturne by Alyssa Weiss.
All right, so that was some messages from the library. And I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right into Blowout, which is Brian De Palma.
It's directed by Brian De Palma.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Brian De Palma's Blowout to make it sound like I really knew something, but then I couldn't think of his name, and then you kind of ruined it by going ahead and talking, and no, I'm just kidding.
Blowout, Brian De Palma. That's the film.
All right, so tell us about Blowout, why you chose it.
Okay. So, yeah. So similar to last time where I've been gone over a year and I never picked an Arnold Schwarzenegger film.
Mm-hmm.
I have never picked a Brian De Palma film. And it was early on. Like I was going to pick this one really early on. And somehow I just got sidetracked with other movies as we did the podcast.
Maybe it was sidetracked by all my good picks.
No. So Brian De Palma is pretty much my favorite director. And Blowout, I feel like there's other ones I could have picked. Like I could have picked Scarface, which is probably like the one that's the most iconic.
Like the Scarface?
It's with Al Pacino.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was him.
Have you seen Scarface?
No.
Okay. I figured. So probably the only film you've seen of his was Carrie, the original Carrie.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't know that was his.
Maybe Mission Impossible. Did you see the first Mission Impossible?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I have
So
no
probably
interest in those.
just Carrie probably is
Yeah, I would say so.
the only one you've seen, which is fair. Carrie's an amazing film.
It is.
But Blowout is probably like you don't like. I could have picked Body Double. I could have picked Dress to Kill. I feel like those you need more, especially Body Double. You need more knowledge of him, his intentions, his influences, which are from everything from Godard to Hitchcock. But Blowout, I feel like, which was honestly it was a huge failure for him. Like the movie, it was very expensive because he had made Obsession and Carrie came out the same year, and then The Fury, which is kind of like Carrie Part 2, and then he did Dress to Kill with Michael Caine. So that was a huge hit. So he had Carrie, and he had a few big hits in a row, and then he got a big budget for Blowout, and the movie. It's not. I mean, I don't know. It's not really commercial because it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a happy ending. It's not a positive film,
Right.
But so it flopped, and it kind of. So after that, he did Scarface, which was like huge, big movie star. Not that John Travolta was a huge star, but Scarface is a more quote unquote entertaining film.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, but I feel like Blowout is probably his best film. It's the one that I feel like he had the most creative control over, and where he was just, because that's usually what'll happen. If you have a hit or two, you're kind of given carte blanche to just make the movie you want to make, whether, like Spielberg made Jaws, so he's pretty much had a ticket. He could do whatever he wanted. Stuff like that. The first Batman was a huge hit with Tim Burton, so he was just like, I'm going to go full Tim Burton for Batman Returns, and it's going to be, penguins with rockets. So I feel like it's the most pure version of his style, his point of view. And the thing I love most about De Palma films is just the technique. It's like film is a combination of images and sound and music, and I feel like no one really does that better than Brian De Palma. Like, whether you think of in Carrie, for instance, I know you've seen it, so you'll like the tracking shot, like the long tracking shot that from the rope where they're at the prom, follows the rope, and then you see Nancy Allen under the stairs, and it goes up to the rafters, and then it comes back down. And it's like
Right.
There's like movies, lowercase, and then there's movies, bright neon, blistering, exploding light bulbs, and Brian De Palma makes those movies. They are films, and like no one makes them, and no one really makes them like that anymore. And the thing I like Hitchcock. I don't know if you've ever seen a Hitchcock film. You've seen Psycho, probably.
I haven't seen all of Psycho. Okay. I've seen parts of it.
The original one with the black and white. With
sure, I've seen like Birds.
The Birds. Okay.
Yeah, that's
not
scary.
his best.
That's okay. I'm scared when birds.
You know, okay.
I mean, it scared me because the flock of birds fly over me, I am scared.
That's one of the first movie shots that really, one of the first movies that really sunk into my heart somewhere is the birds. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I need to watch it again because I watched it again several years ago and I barely got past the first 45 minutes. Like Tippi Hedren's really making it.
Well, I think
I'm
part
sure
of
it's
it was
recolored. I think she's great. She's super manic, but that's because he was Alfred Hitchcock wasn't a good guy and was effectively torturing her the whole shoot and really, really messing with her. But some of those scenes are gorgeous, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, what he's doing with the special effects and everything for the time is really impressive. And I don't know, the movies never really stuck with me.
It's possible that I only saw parts of that as well, and it probably was like before I watched horror films.
Yeah,
so it probably scared me. I mean, but anything like that's real could be real, like Cujo. I think Cujo is one of Stephen King's scariest books and movies.
Yeah,
because it's more realistic,
dog.
Right?
Yeah. So Hitchcock, starting in the 30s and into once the Hays Code, which was like there were certain things you couldn't show on screen. He was really limited with what he could do, especially once he really found his form within the thriller, horror genre. Until Psycho, he really just was like, he was very constricted. So with regards to sex and violence, he couldn't do certain things. And I feel like with Brian De Palma coming in the 70s and 80s, because he didn't start making these kind of Hitchcockian thrillers. He started making like offbeat comedies with Robert De Niro, who like in Hi Mom. I'm not saying they're great films, but they don't feel like what he would later make. But I feel like, especially like stuff like Dressed to Kill, Blowout, Body Double, like especially Body Double. Body Double is just like basically Vertigo, but just set in a different tone in a way, but it's very Vertigo. He's able to just let loose, and like the violence can be more explicit. The sex can be more explicit, and it's more guttural, I guess, in a way. Like, and you can just feel like, especially in Dressed to Kill and Blowout and Body Double, like he's just like he can do whatever he wants, And it's kind of like the best form of Hitchcock to me. Like if Hitchcock had been making movies in the 80s, if he had started 20, 30 years later, he'd be Brian De Palma. These are the movies he would be making. So anyway, Blowout, I love it to death.
I would have never guessed,
because it's like about his... I'm just going to start talking.
You're going to what?
Just going to stop talking. Because it's kind of, it's about... there's a lot of inside jokes about like the movie starts, how they're recording the sound. It's like the same sound effect. And that came about because I think maybe on Dressed to Kill or The Fury, they were doing the sound, and he's like, I'm tired of hearing that same scream in every movie. Yeah. And it's like the same, like you'd always hear like the same gunshots, same sound effects in every movie. And so, the end of the movie is heartbreaking when he uses Nancy Allen's death scream, which as she's dying, and he's, it's a good scream. And you can hear it, and he covers his ears because he can't hear it. It's like, oh man, it's one of the best endings. I love it. So anyway, I love Body Double. It's like my number 11 movie of all time.
All right. So I will start by saying overall, I actually enjoyed it. I did. I will say the opening of that movie, I know we talked about like the over-sexualization of women in Crossroads. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this movie is way worse in that sense.
That's what it's parodying. The opening is like a parody of...
I get it, but at the same time, they're also showing it just the same.
Well, I know, but...
I don't know. It just seemed like a lot to me.
Well, that's the horror, like that they're parodying the horror movies at that time.
Right.
Because they're using like the track, like the long Steadicam shot from like the opening of Halloween. Mm-hmm. That's what they're parodying. And funnily enough, they actually got the inventor, Garrett, I think his name's Garrett Brown, of the Steadicam, who later, he'd come off working with Kubrick on The Shining. Mm-hmm. So all those shots like following Danny down the hallways on the big wheel.
Right.
That's Garrett Brown with the Steadicam. So he went from that to parodying himself.
That is funny.
In the opening to this crappy horror movie that they're...
Right. And I got that it was a parody. And I completely understood that.
But that's just how those movies were. Like,
yeah.
It was just...
I guess it was just, for me, it was a lot. Like, I feel like there was possibly a way to parody it without being it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not it. Like, it's a movie within the movie.
Yeah, this is like peak exploitation horror.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, that's just what those movies were. Like, in that time, like, they were just titillation. So it was just naked women and a killer. And
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If we...
But it's making fun of those movies.
If we look at, like, Crossroads is over-sexualization and it's Britney in her underwear dancing, then...
It's about context.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's no real.
I did not like that at all. I felt it was way worse in that sense.
So here's the thing: is I love exploitation. I'm gonna just do this real quick. I love exploitation horror. I do. So I'm not gonna be like it's bad, but it is a very different context. Brittany was a very young woman playing a 17-year-old.
Well, I'm sure all those women are old that are naked and running around.
No, but these are adults for the most part in the context of a movie where they might be. I mean, I don't know. Exploitation horror is kind of a different ball game in its own thing, and they're specifically saying like.
This is a crappy B movie that we're doing the sound
movie
for.
That we're making.
This movie's awful. Like
and that's what I said. Like I got what it was. I don't know. I just didn't like it. The opening. I just thought it was too much. But I'm also somebody that I really don't, and I get where they were going with it.
Yeah.
But I don't like for what I think is unnecessary nudity or unnecessary sex, unless it really drives the story.
The plot.
And I know it drove the story in the sense of what they were making, but I feel like there were other ways to do that.
I don't feel like there's another way to do that for this.
I don't know. I just thought it was overkill. Like maybe one scene where somebody's naked. I don't know why everybody had to be naked.
Well, because part of the development, I think, of the character development of the story is that, I mean, the main girl is a prostitute.
Well, yeah.
And they're like kind of...
You never see her naked?
Yeah, but you have these movie directors who are making this movie that, like these people who are making a movie that exploits women, and then he's developing this relationship with a sex worker, and like
who
kind
witnessed
of, and kind of,
he's exploiting her, and he's using her to get the
scream,
to lure the killer out,
right.
So, and then the joke is, he's using her scream again for this crappy, like it's kind of coming full circle.
Yeah. Which I will say,
exploitation of women.
I do agree with you on that shot. The scene where he uses the scream. That is kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite.
It was a great scream though, but
yeah, but it's one of my favorite deliveries. It is just, it's a good scream, and he's
But like I said, overall, I mean that was just my opinion of the opening. Okay, and that's just how I view things. But I mean, I get where it was being used. It just seemed over the top, which I get was also what they were doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it.
You have a general issue with excess nudity in in movies.
Right.
I get that, but I also think like you're taking the issue that Josh had with Crossroads was the lack of clothing on Britney Spears, which isn't the issue.
It's not right. She's not starring in a parody movie in Crossroads. She's that's in the movie, and it's like, and it's not just that she's in her panties. It's like she's in I don't know. It's just it just made me feel weird, and it's just sometimes I don't know. It's just I don't know. But it's not just that scene, but like throughout the whole film, it's just like.
Well,
how do we get her into tighter clothing? How do we get more cleavage? How do we get this? And it's like those are the kind of people that made the horror movie the movie within the movie and Blowout.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get titillation and just trying to get naked women on the screen, and that'll bring in audiences.
Right. Like I said, I completely understand it.
And that's just how they made. That's just how horror movies generally, like those like cheap slasher movies,
were made.
That's just how they were.
Right. I get that. I just think I don't like it.
Well, that's the point.
That's all.
But you're not supposed to like it.
You're not supposed to like it.
But the good news is that was really the one thing I didn't like.
Oh, awesome.
So and it stops there. Like it was just the opening scene for me. The rest, the sexualization and different things throughout the rest of the movie, I was okay with. Even them being kind of crappy to the women that come to try to be the screamer and stuff like that. Yeah. It made sense. I was okay with it. Yeah. So it wasn't something I had. It's not a bone to pick with the whole movie. Okay. It is just the opening scene. But
the opening scene's supposed to make you feel that way. You're supposed to kind of take issue with the way they're depicting nudity in that scene. Like I think
also it's like a little I'm sorry,
go ahead. I think you took what you were supposed to from it, which is I don't really like this. This makes me feel dirty.
Yeah.
This feels cheap
and exploitive and like it's not part of the plot. And that that is the part that is the plot,
right.
is the way that it makes you feel when you watch those things, if you're thinking about it critically.
And also it's like, so the movie, like, so if you know anything about movies, it's like, okay, so Brian De Palma's made Sisters, he's made Carrie, he's made The Fury, he made Dressed to Kill. So he's known for these thriller horrors. And then the movie starts and it's just like, what is this cheap, like, Halloween knockoff crap?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, it's a little bit of a joke too. Like if you know, like if you're into movies and the movie starts and you're like, oh, okay, this is just.
Well, I'm not super into movies and I just didn't like it. But the rest of the movie I thought was good. I liked the story through the movie. I like John Travolta in this movie.
It's his best movie, I think.
He did great, which I did see that he suffered from insomnia during it. Mm-hmm. And that played into his character being so...
Yeah, he looks worn out.
And how it... But it would make sense in this movie that he would be like that. So it really worked to his advantage for that.
Yeah.
I mean, insomnia sucks, but it worked to his advantage.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, it... Just overall, it was a good... I like the idea of him being somebody that records sounds for the movies. And, you know, you get to see his story as well, including... the time he mic'd a guy for the first time, and
the cop, or was it undercover cop?
I think he was. I don't remember what he was.
Yeah, he got killed.
He got killed. But you get to see some of his life as well. But then there's also this murder mystery put in, and it's, I don't know. It also shows the corrupt side of government, where nobody wanted to find out who actually shot the tire or anything. They didn't care. And all of that.
I like what that, like, where he mic'd up the cop or whoever ended up getting killed. So it's like, I like, and what you're saying about where he had insomnia. So like that kind of, it's almost like the guilt from that,
right?
The guilt from what he's doing, making these crappy movies. It's all kind of weighing him down. And then by the end of the movie, once someone he's really starting to form a bond with is killed, and he's exploiting that, it's just like it's a downer ending.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a good ending.
Yeah, I mean
I think it's a great
I don't want
ending.
the movie to end happy. I don't want them to go off in the sunset.
Right.
I don't, because that's not what the movie's about.
Right. And I was actually just having this conversation, but about Scream, because, the new one comes out. But I'm okay with characters dying 100%. I feel like for a good movie, characters you don't want to die have to die.
They should.
Not everything's
a
great
joke. Like if you like, man, a lot of modern movies do this, especially like the Marvel movies, like where like they'll die in the first third, and then nope, they're alive at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
I hate that. Like it's just, like,
and I think it depends on how it's done. Like,
yeah,
I mean, not to mention Scream again, but with Scream,
you think Dewey's dead.
That's what I was going to say. There's a lot of characters that get stabbed, and you're like, oh, they're definitely dead, but they don't die on screen.
Yeah,
and then they actually were just harmed, and they get to live. I think it depends on how it's done. I mean,
if you're
something like that,
if you have a funeral, that person should be dead.
Exactly. Yeah, if they're shown on camera dead, then they are dead, and that's what Scream does, is they don't show it on camera.
Yeah.
If they're not going to die.
A lot of horror movies do, which is why Zombieland has the double tap.
Exactly.
That's one of the rules of the zombie apocalypse, is the
Double
idea
tap.
like it's what I yell at horror movies when like they shoot the killer and they don't make sure he's dead. I'm just like, double tap.
Right.
Like
They did it in Scream too.
They do. Yeah. It's always in Scream, except for Dewey in 5, and he definitely should have double tapped, but
spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't seen it now, it's...
What are you doing with your life, loser?
Yeah, loser. You have a lot to catch up on, seeing as the new one comes out tomorrow. But anyways. I can't.
So with Blowout, like what I was talking about, like...
Blowout?
So, you never really take notice of camera work or anything, but I feel like it's impossible not to notice some of the stuff he does. Like, so for instance, when he comes back to his studio, and I imagine it's John Lithgow's ransacked it, and like everything's in disarray, and it's this overhead shot, like 360, and it's just following him as he, like you notice that shot.
Oh yeah,
like there's things like just the way he shoots the whole film, like he of course likes long tracking shots. He likes to do the split diopter shots where if you like both things in the foreground and the background can be.
That's what I was going to say. I think one of my favorite shots that I definitely 100% noticed was at the beginning when he's recording on the bridge. And like the owl, I thought that was a beautiful shot. I loved that. But also the tracking of the sound. So you would hear the sound from his point of view, and then there would be a shot to where it was. And even with the frog, I think they did the same thing as the owl. And it might have not been in the beginning, but it might have been when he was like listening back to it and picturing it. But it was the same thing. You saw the frog, and then you could see the bridge in the background. I loved that scene.
Yeah, he's a big fan of split diopter shots.
Yeah, well, it worked perfect in that situation.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like the technique is like, I don't know. I think if you just study Brian De Palma movies and you were wanting to be a director, like that's how you make a movie.
Yeah,
especially if you're making like a thriller. The ending at the parade and everything, the fireworks,
yes,
like the slow motion. He's running towards her,
or when she's fighting the guy, and it's just like them with the fireworks behind them. That was a beautiful shot. Yeah. I loved that, and I don't know if that was like practical or if it was.
You mean the shot where he's holding Nancy Allen?
Yeah,
and it's like and the camera's panning
and
around.
It's just
so it's them on a blue screen, and the
fireworks
are optically composited.
It kind of looked like that could have been what it was, but at the same time, it was just a beautiful shot.
Like, yeah, and it's like, and it's that emotional moment where it's like you need that shot. It's like there's a lot like there's a lot of directors they can make a nice shot or impressive like long take shot, but if it's ultimately not saying anything, I don't care. Like Children of Men's it's a good movie, but they have this long 16-minute one shot thing, and I notice it and it just takes me out of the movie because it's not really adding to the movie for me. Like you could it's okay to cut. Like it doesn't impress me
if it's unnecessary.
Yeah, but I think De Palma knows, he just has this instinctual ability like when to use what technique and how it's going to cut together. And then when you add on Pino Donaggio's score, the score is simple piano theme is just, it captures the melancholy and the stakes and the even the little bit of the romance of John Travolta and Nancy Allen. Like it just gets everything, and it knows when to go big. You have the big beats, and then when to go soft. Like when they do that, the fireworks shot, it's just the little piano.
Yeah,
it just cuts it goes big, great. And then it just comes down to the little piano theme.
And I will say, I mean, as the opposite of a cinephile, I did notice camera shots, and it was because they were used so well to tell the story.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why sometimes I don't notice them as much, because these stand out.
Yeah.
It's not just knowing that it's a good shot. Like it comes across as just a beautiful part of the movie.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that shot.
Yeah.
I feel something with that shot.
Yeah. That owl shot really did it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that whole sequence where he's listening to the just getting sounds.
That a lot.
And then when he goes back and he's replaying it on the little on the recorder and everything, and
I like that scene where he's doing that, and then he has the photographs from the guy that was taking pictures,
and he cuts them all together,
cutting them together, and creating a little film out of it.
Yeah,
I loved that too.
Stuff like that where you're just it's just pure cinema. It's just image,
right?
It's just you're just telling the story through images.
Yeah,
and that he does that better than anybody, I think, and the movie could largely be, you could get rid of a lot of the dialogue and you still know what's going on.
Right. I do agree with that.
And I love Lithgow too. He's a great
bad guy.
He's such a nice guy, but he's De Palma, man, he's always casting me as just a bad guy. It's like this and Raising Cain, and there's another one where he's the bad guy. Raising Cain's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
That was about 10 years later.
I like Lithgow, so...
Yeah, he's awesome. He's very memorable.
John Lithgow is great. He's I feel like he's an underused actor sometimes. I mean,
he's a great comedian. He's a great dramatic actor. He can do anything.
I loved him in Third Rock.
Yeah, I like Third Rock a lot. He's really great in Raising Cain because he's playing multiple personalities.
Oh, nice.
And De Palma just lets him go. Just have fun with it, and he just is all over the place. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds interesting. And see, this movie, a De Palma movie, hearing that there's another De Palma movie with John Lithgow, I would want to watch that, I think.
Yeah, I think you'd have fun with it.
Because that's what I said. I mean, yeah, I didn't love the entrance or the beginning, but I understood why it was being done. And I just, me personally, might have done it a different way, but that did not stop me from enjoying the rest of the movie. I thought the movie was really good, and the way it was shot and things like that. And I know we talk about shots, and most of the time I don't understand it and I don't get it, like Mulholland Drive. But this one is so in your face that it's just good and it looks good that you can't
deny
seeing a shot. Like there's no way to be like, oh, I didn't see that.
You're not going to not remember that shot.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's not burned into your brain. You know?
So, I mean, he does really good.
Yeah. I might eventually pick like Dress to Kill. I think you'd like that one too. And Body Double. That's kind of like my Palma trilogy.
Yeah.
I love those movies. Those are the most like purely Hitchcockian. Untouchable. I mean, I love all of his movies for the most part. The last couple where it's just like he's...
Well, I didn't know I was a fan, but I like Carrie, so...
Yeah, Carrie's amazing.
So I guess this is the two that I've seen, this and Carrie. And, I mean, both were good.
Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy.
Yeah, and there were so many little things that I liked about it, but like I said, the story itself was so well written that it didn't even need words.
Yeah, the story's loosely, I mean, not loosely, but I mean, it's basically based on so there's a movie called Blow Up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a French film, if I remember.
Yeah. The only one I know is Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
That's why.
It's not based on that.
One of us has. Oh, it's Michelangelo Antonini. Sorry.
It's Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. That's one child.
There's just one kid. That's right.
Just FYI. Ask me
the
how
children. That's a different movie.
Yeah. I think we've actually had this.
We have.
Same conversation. Yeah, that's weird.
What do we talk about this on?
I don't even know if it was on the podcast, but we were playing Grounded for a long time, and Joe just kept sneaking on different Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies every time I was in the living room.
But we did talk about it on here.
But anyway, so it's basically a lot of it, like the premise is based on Michelangelo Antonini's Blow Up. Came out in the 60s, and it's basically where a photographer witnesses, like he's just getting pictures and he witnesses a murder, you know. There's this whole kind of conspiracy thing. I personally don't think that's a great movie. I know it was very influential, but it's not a great movie. I don't think I don't care for it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what art really is. Like that movie influenced De Palma, so he's going to take what he wants from that but make it his own. Blow Out looks so much better than Blow Up. Like it just cinematically, it's just so much more refined. And that's what good art does. Like, you know, if you're going to steal with style.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Make it your own, really. You know, everyone's influenced by their influences. You know, I mean, you can't help it. Some stuff is just, you know, burned into you. Like if I started making movies, if I had a different path and was a film director, it would look a lot like a Brian De Palma movie or Spielberg or John Carpenter. Like it wouldn't. Yeah, but that's just a little the background of Blow Out.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it was a fun film in the fact that, you know, it had a good story. Mm-hmm. And for me, it had the perfect ending. I know it's not the kind of ending most people like, but I don't like everything to be happy at the ending because that's not how life is. And sometimes when you have a killer, people die. So I definitely loved the ending. I loved the whole him using the scream. I mean, that wrapped it up so well. But
every time I watch it, that ending.
Yeah,
it gets me.
It's rough.
Even more.
I mean, there were some funny parts too. Like I thought it's so small, but I thought it was funny when he is in the studio and the guy's like, "Where have you been? Just come in here real quick." And it's three girls and they're trying for the scream.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst screams ever. And John Travolta's character's like, "No, try again," or something like that. And one of the girls looks so depressed. She's like, everything on her body language just drops, and she looks so depressed. And for some reason, that scene was hilarious to me.
Yeah, but it's funny.
And I don't know. It was just but it plays into what you were saying about them making fun of using the same screams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, even when they were searching, everybody had kind of the same scream, and it was just a really bad scream.
It's really funny because it's like he's like, I need more screams, and he goes out and just gets 3 random girls.
Yeah.
And they all just have the same scream pretty much, which is not good. And,
which I thought was hilarious.
and I think there's something that we said, like he's saying about, like your art is reflective of the tragedies that have befallen you.
Yeah.
And the people around you. And that's what he's doing at the end of the movie. And that's what I think a good director does, is they have to take from their own life experiences and infuse it into their art.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's difficult.
But it always ends up making the best stuff.
Yeah, the best movies are the ones where you can feel someone had something to say.
Right. Exactly.
It can be a few $100,000 indie movie, or it could be a $200 million blockbuster. If you have something to really say,
it comes across.
And you can feel it. So you can feel it. It's not just something.
Makes the audience feel it.
Yeah.
And that's what this film did that really well.
Yeah.
For funds. Since this movie is all about finding the perfect scream for a horror movie, I want to know what some of your favorite screams in horror movies.
I thought you were going to ask us to scream.
I did too, and I was like, Toby, we're not going there.
No. I want to know.
I'll do it.
Do you have any?
You'll scream?
If you know any memorable ones.
Wait, Josh wants to. Josh wants to try out.
Off the headset.
I don't think I've ever screamed in my entire life.
Really? I did yesterday when Toby scared me.
I heard that.
Oh, and then I did again when Casey scared me. Really bad.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was very high pitched. The second one.
I feel like that is an alone in the recording booth scenario if you're really gonna go for it.
Oh, okay.
For the screams, because it's gonna hurt. I mean, if you scream well, it's gonna hurt people's ears.
Okay.
Even if we don't have headphones on, listening to each other's screams.
Yeah.
But the question was, what are some good screams in horror movies? Are there any that stick out for you?
Janet Leigh in Psycho.
Yeah.
That's good. I've seen that clip.
Yeah.
There's a whole documentary about the shower scene in Psycho. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yes.
Not to bring up Scream again, but they actually reference that in Scream 5 because they have a guy in the shower instead.
Yeah.
And they reference Psycho. They actually talk about it.
The opening to it's stupid, but like over the title Scream and the original Scream, like that Scream.
Oh, yeah.
I like that Scream a lot.
Yeah. I don't know who that was. Was it Drew Barrymore? Oh, no, it's the mom.
Oh, it is. Which is not that actress. It's like a voiceover. It's like a dub.
Oh, okay.
But
whoever did that was a good Scream.
Oh, that's an amazing Scream.
Yeah.
That's high up there. I'm partial to Shelley Duvall's screams and The Shining. It's less like overt
right,
and more just like I don't know.
So much emotion kind of in it.
Yeah.
Like a wailing.
Yeah, like a wailing more than a scream. But I can hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear her.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I've never really sat and thought about this, so I'm not coming up with very many ideas. But the ones that you're mentioning are definitely good ones.
All right, I'll tell my 2 recent ones. I mention this all the time.
Oh, the Mutilator.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that gets like what is it, like a hedge trimmer or a saw, like a buzz saw or something in him, and it's like a 45-second shot of him just going, and it's just like a straight close up of his face, just going, and then he just drops out of frame. It's amazing. That's my scream.
I'm gonna have to look up that clip.
We can find that.
What was your 2?
Okay, so 2. I have to remember the girl's name, but there's a girl that I love in everything, Samara Weaving. And
who is in the new Scream, I think.
Maybe she.
Oh, is she?
I don't know.
She's blonde. I'm
pretty sure she is.
Oh, is she? She's been a Scream Queen around for a while. She is in, if you haven't watched The Babysitter, everybody needs to watch The Babysitter. It's great.
It's okay.
I love The Babysitter.
Is that the Netflix thing?
Uh-huh.
I've seen the first one.
I like that one.
Is that her? The
Babysitter
she's the
girl?
girl?
She's the cult leader. That is The Babysitter. But she screams like a goat being slaughtered, and it is awesome. Like, it's so, like, it just feels real because it's not that, like, perfect. It's like her voice catches in her throat, so it, like, undulates a little bit, and it's like it feels like someone who's actually, like, shaking and terrified and scared, and it sounds like a goat being killed. But it's really, really good.
Well, there you go. That's a great reason to go see Scream 6 this weekend. She is in it.
Yeah, I'll watch anything Samara Weaving's in.
Well, there you go.
Clarice, do you still hear the goats screaming?
But the other one that has been...
Oh my gosh, that movie was great. I will be thinking about that when I watch the new one.
Also here.
It's really long.
That seems a little ridiculous.
It's a little bit much. The Mutilator's great. Going on a fall break. That was the original title of the movie is Fall Break. So
is it a musical?
No, there's just an original song that plays several times in the Mutilator. That's hilarious. But the other thing is, so as everyone at work knows and no one else will watch it, I've been really enjoying the Last of Us movie or Last of Us series. And little Bella Ramsey has some good screams. Like every time she like emotes like that, she's a really deep voice for a young woman. And so like her screams are very much like feel like deep and real and scared. Like it's not that pretty like scream queen scream. It's like this is horrific and I'm terrified.
Right.
One of the best ones is it's less of a scream and more of just like a sound that she makes when she's terrified. There's an episode, sorry, spoilers if you haven't played the Last of Us game, but it's the Henry and Sam episode where I can't remember which one's which ever. I think it's Henry like shoots his younger brother or has to kill his younger brother because he gets turned into a zombie and then kills himself. And it's when he shoots himself, it just cuts to black and all you can hear is like her reaction to it, which is like this like really guttural like scream exclamation. And it's like it's heartbreaking because it's someone it feels like someone actually seeing death. And it's like that's so but she's a good little, I imagine that we will be seeing a lot of her and a lot of Jenna Ortega in horror movies going forward for the next few years. I think they're this generation's
Mia Goth.
And Mia Goth. Yeah, but Mia Goth plays a villain so well.
I don't have I seen anything with her.
Did you watch X?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I want to.
Well,
X is good. Pearl's.
Yeah, I want to see that.
She's great in Pearl, but the movie left me a little cold.
Mia Goth's great in everything she's
But I mean, and that goes back to Blowout and the fact that a good scream does make a difference.
It does.
It does, yeah.
Like that first scream of the girl that's actually in the shower about to be stabbed.
Sounds like Mutilator.
It's just like, she's just like, It doesn't sound like she's about to be stabbed, for sure. It just sounds like she got startled a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I hear that daily here working at the library.
I wonder why. I can't help it that I'm very easily startled. But, I mean, does that mean I'm the library's like scream king?
Maybe. Men can be scream queens. Look at Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
I love Nightmare on Elm Street, too. Speaking of, I was just like looking at like the Naomi Watts scream in the original The Ring is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one. And then and the Sally scream in the original Texas Chainsaw, like when she's at the dinner table.
Yep.
That's a good one too. There's some good ones out there.
And I feel we'll discuss them more and more because we do like horror. So
Oh, they just
I think
You've seen Texas Chainsaw, right?
Yes. Maybe.
The original?
I've seen at least parts of it. Okay. You know how I watch movies. I see parts of it as I grow up. I saw the one with Jessica Biel in it, which I liked a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's sunk into. This is another one, old movie that sunk into parts of me. I was looking at a list of best screams, and Donald Sutherland in the Invasion of the Body Scratchers. It's almost kind of like the scream that the fake scream in the Thing.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. Which one is it? When he's they catch him.
Oh yeah, that's right. I even talked about that on our episode.
Yeah, his like hands all messed up and they burn him, and his whatever that sound is, that scream is that's stuck with me. I can hear that.
Terrifying.
100%.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And I think Daniel Stern deserves honorable mention.
Oh, for Home Alone.
Also on the list. On Home Alone.
That's a good one.
All of his
I think that's when the spider drops on his face, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So, Blowout.
Yeah, Blowout, awesome movie.
I liked it.
One of the best.
Overall, I did like it. I would possibly watch it again. I do think it was a great example, finally, in my opinion, of where you tell me about all these beautiful shots. Like this one, I could not see it.
Yeah, there's like no way you can watch a De Palma movie, especially from that era, and not be like, oh, wow, that shot, or that sequence, or, whatever, that piece of music with that image.
Right.
It's just so, he was on the ball.
Yeah. So I think this time around, we had 2 good films, documentary, whatever.
Yeah. I like them.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of that one as well, and to the end of this podcast, I guess.
Or ever.
Just this episode, I mean. I'm so sorry.
It's a very definitive statement there, Aaron.
That was.
Please, no, we have a live show next week. We're not
That's
done.
what I was going to say.
We're going out with a bang.
So, we are not going
to.
We're not technically picking movies for each other. Next week, or sorry, not next week.
It will be next week
next
when
episode.
this is up.
Okay.
Yeah,
so when you're listening to this, it will be the next week. That is when HerdCon is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not choosing a movie, but you have chosen Conan.
Conan the Barbarian, 1982, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
So you're getting 2 Arnie flicks.
There we go.
Within a month or so.
I've already heard some clips from it, and it sounds pretty funny. So I'm thinking I might enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. And then Todd, our director, is going to be live with us as well, and he has chosen Masters of the Universe.
Yes.
So
the 87 film with Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we'll be reviewing, and it will be live. Still not sure how I feel about a live podcast yet.
It's going to be fun. Don't worry about it.
I think it's going to be fun, but we're kind of a hot mess sometimes.
Listen.
But that could be fun too.
Yeah, that's part of the fun.
That's part of the fun.
That's going to be Friday the 24th at 2:30.
At 2:30.
At Marshall, the HerdCon. At Marshall, the HerdCon.
And that takes place at Marshall.
Yeah, and
it's
we're
at
in the main auditorium for the convention. So we're in the big auditorium. So don't make us feel bad. Please come to the show so that we're not performing in a large auditorium for 2 people. We will.
That's right.
We have no shame. We will perform for 2 people if that's all that's there. But we would prefer if it was more people than that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But,
Yeah, all 10 of you that listen could come. There's definitely room.
We have at least 25 followers on Spotify alone.
We could have a packed house, man.
I mean, yeah, we never know. But I think it will be fun overall. And then we're also doing a panel on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we are involved at HerdCon. And, I mean, it would be cool to talk to some people that do listen as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think that'd be neat.
We'll get some more listeners, too.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So if you do listen and you are coming to HerdCon, we will also have a table set up, and I'm sure we'll be there at times. You should definitely stop by.
Yeah.
Stop by regardless of whether we're there or not.
Yeah.
But
it should be a
definitely
pretty good
stop by.
comic convention.
Yeah. I think it's going to be fun. So that's what we're going to do for the next podcast.
Yeah.
And then we will be recording it, and it will be released as our normal podcasts are, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Ask me what's best in life.
What's best in life?
Recording a live podcast at HerdCon on March 24th at 2:30.
I mean, you just never know what's going to come out of our mouths, and I think that's what's fun.
Yeah.
So live is going to be, well, I have some words to use, but I think I'll just say it's going to be a show.
Interesting.
So yeah, definitely join us then, the 24th of March at HerdCon. But I guess for now, or until HerdCon, I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
And this is The Real Opposites.